So the weather is cooling and people are moving away from their summer weight loss phase to their fall winter muscle and strengthening phase. Me, I just gain weight the whole year. But if you're bulking right now or in the process of transitioning to a bulking phase, here are a few things to keep in mind so you make sure you get the most out of your bulking phase and don't end up either not gaining as much muscle and strength as you had wanted to during your bulking phase, or gaining so much fat that you have an extended cutting phase at the end of your bulk. So the first mistake that I make often when I'm bulking, and I know a lot of people make, is that they eat too many calories. This is especially a problem when people have been cutting for multiple months, losing weight, getting really shredded, and what happens is they start transitioning to a bulking phase and they want to enjoy food again, and so they start eating way too much. So with bulking, there is the law of diminishing returns at play again, where let's say you're eating a 500 calorie per day surplus and maybe you gain 5 units of muscle with that. If you eat 1,000 calorie per day surplus, you may only get 7 units of muscle gain instead of the 10 that you expected, whereas with the 500 calorie per day surplus you might gain like 3 units of fat, and with the 1,000 calorie per day surplus you might gain 7 units of fat. So with each additional calorie that you're taking in, you're going to be gaining less muscle and more fat. This is one of the reasons why a classic dreamer bulk, where people just eat whatever they want, all kinds of high calorie, low nutrient dense junk foods, usually end up gaining a lot of weight and a lot of excess fat and not making the most out of their bulking phase. So if you think about it, the longer you bulk, the more muscle and strength you can gain, since you're generally going to be gaining muscle and strength during a caloric surplus phase unless you're a complete beginner or you're extremely overweight and a few other situations. But generally you're going to be gaining muscle and strength in a caloric surplus phase, so your goal is to try to maximize the length of that caloric surplus. And you can do this by making sure you eat at a caloric surplus but not excessively so, and that way you can extend your caloric surplus over a long period of time. I would recommend having your caloric surplus be around 250 to 500 calories. So 250 calories per day surplus would equal a half a pound of weight gain per week. A 500 calorie per day surplus would be a pound of weight gain per week. If you are more of a beginner, you can do something, and you're skinnier, you can do something like a 750 calorie per day surplus, which would lead to about a pound and a half of weight gain per week. However, the more advanced you are, I'd recommend staying closer to the lower end of the spectrum, so more of the 250 calorie per day to maybe a 500 calorie per day surplus. And this way you're gaining weight, but in a way that's most optimal for maximizing your muscle per pound of weight gain ratio. So this range is more of a calorie per day average, and you can do something like caloric cycling, where you'll eat at maintenance or a slight caloric surplus on some days, and maybe like one day of the week where you want to go out with your friends, you can eat a lot more, and as long as your calories equal or average out to 250 to 500 calories per day, you should be fine. So one issue that a lot of people have is that they stop eating vegetables, or they don't eat as many vegetables, and vegetables are beneficial not just for satiety, as a lot of people use them for during their cutting phase and their lower calories, but they're also important for all the nutrients that they provide. So things like fiber help not just with bowel movements, but also with things like reducing your risk of various cancers like colorectal cancer. Vitamins and minerals are important for various things like just say for aesthetics, for your skin, your hair, your nails, things like that. It's also important for things like your bone strength, for all kinds of different mental and physical performance functions, like let's say your performance in the gym, your recovery from the gym, your thinking abilities. Pretty much any physiological process in your body is optimized when you get the appropriate amounts of vitamins and minerals from your food, which is best found in fruits and vegetables. So make sure you're eating your veggies. The next two issues concern more of the training aspects that people kind of miss out on when they're bulking. So the first is not having enough intensity or volume with their caloric surplus. So since you're eating more food, you're giving your body more resources, you're able to push your body a little bit more, but people often don't increase their volume or their intensity with their caloric surplus. Your body has more nutrients, it can handle more work and more stress, and you should try to put those extra calories that you're putting into your body to good use. So if you're just sitting around and you're eating at a caloric surplus but you barely stimulate your muscles, you're not going to gain as much muscle as you could have if you had placed more stress on your body. So try to make sure you get that muscle protein synthesis stimulus in, and really try to hammer the weights hard, lift as much as you can, try to implement things like progressive overload, maybe some extra volume through things like drop sets or just increasing the amount of sets you're doing. Really try to push yourself a little harder, since you are eating more food and you're getting in more nutrients, and your body is able to recover better and handle that extra load. There are even some powerlifters, especially the old school powerlifters, that talk about eating their way to a bigger lift. Some people would do things like just eat more food and gain weight to improve their lift numbers without changing other things. So things like the bench press, for example, is more responsive to weight gain, and certain lifts will go up a lot if you do implement a caloric surplus appropriately. Another big issue that people have is once they stop cutting weight or they're not trying to lose weight, they cut back on their cardio, they stop cardio completely. And cardio is important for various reasons. One of the reasons, which is just for enjoyment purposes, is that doing cardio allows you to burn more calories, and then you're able to eat more food, or you're able to eat higher calorie foods, maybe fit in more of those like stereotypical junk foods into your diet, maybe go out with friends a little bit more at places that maybe you're not completely sure of the calorie counts or the macronutrients, and you're probably eating more calories and macronutrients than you really think you are. So doing cardio helps you eat more or eat more freely and still stay within your calorie surplus goals. Also, cardio or cardiovascular activity has many beneficial effects on different organ systems in your body, like your cardiovascular system. When you do cardiovascular activity, there are beneficial physiological changes that happen in your body. For example, vessels remodel differently when you're doing cardio in a beneficial way. And this beneficial physiological remodeling is different than when you're doing something like anaerobic activity with strength training. Cardio has many beneficial effects in other areas as well, like longevity, your mood regulation with its regulation of serotonin. Overall, it's good for your mental and physical well-being. So definitely try not to skimp out on cardio or weight training so you're able to get the physiological benefits and health benefits of both. I also find that when I make sure to do my cardio, even during my bulking seasons, I'm able to do more reps with whatever weights I'm using, and I'm able to rest shorter periods of time. So basically I have more endurance not only outside of the gym but also in the gym. I also find that doing cardio builds a lot of mental toughness and resilience. It's a nice way to kind of build that toughness and strengthen your mind as well. So the fifth big mistake is not tracking your progress and not setting goals for yourself to base that progress on. So first, before you start a bulking phase, I would recommend you set a goal weight that you're trying to reach and maybe even a max weight that you're trying to reach. And I still recommend tracking your macros and your calories. So when people are trying to lose weight, they're often really meticulous with like every single thing that they're eating. They'll record it, they'll make sure to measure everything out. They're doing this so that they can get as lean as possible. But when they're bulking, people often get kind of lazy. And I understand, like, if you've been cutting and losing weight for a long time, you're tired and you want to enjoy yourself a little bit, you can allow yourself more leeway with counting and being as precise as you were earlier. But I would still recommend counting your calories and macronutrients, maybe not as meticulously as before, but still try to do as best as you can. If you need to take a few days off here and there, that's fine, especially if you're eating more of the same foods as you usually do. But try to be as on top of your calories and macronutrients as you were when you're trying to lose weight, and this way you'll get most out of your bulking phase as possible. I think it's very important to set a goal before you go on a bulking phase, because what happens is people start eating more, they start enjoying more of the foods that they like, maybe going out more with friends and things like that. They start gaining weight, and maybe they reach the point of weight that they wanted to end at, or they overshoot the weight, but they're so comfortable with where they're at, and it's always enjoyable to eat a lot of food, maybe a lot of unhealthy foods or higher calorie foods. And people end up overshooting the amount of weight that they wanted to gain on their bulk. They end up getting fatter, and then not only do they miss out on optimizing that muscle to fat gain ratio, they also end up not getting as much strength as they wanted to in that period, and they have gained so much excess fat that it'll take a lot longer to cut that weight out. Tracking your weight with things like a weekly weigh-in, which I recommend, allows you to make sure that you're staying within that goal, 0.5 pound to 1 pound of weight gain per week. If you're overshooting it, you know that you have to cut back a little bit. If you're undershooting, you can maybe eat a little bit more. And another benefit of tracking and making sure you have goals is if you do end up overshooting your goal, what you can do is do something like a mini cut, which is like eating at a caloric deficit for a week or two, maybe a couple weeks, lose a little weight, but not do an extended cutting period, and get back onto the bulk again so you can have an extended bulking period with that short mini cut in between. A lot of people who just do this intuitively and don't track their calories or their macronutrients, or don't do weekly progress weigh-ins or check-ins, they end up doing things like gaining a lot of weight in a short period of time. Like, let's say they were trying to gain 12 pounds in 12 weeks, they might gain 10 pounds in 5 weeks or 6 weeks, and then maybe another pound or two in a week or two after that. And after that, just maintaining for the next few weeks without making as much progress as they would have if they had stayed on top and track of what their weekly weight gain goals were. So having a max weight gain target, an overall upper limit of weight gain, a weekly weight gain target, and tracking your calories and macronutrients to make sure you stay on top of those goals is highly recommended. So having structure is always going to get you further than if you'd kind of done things haphazardly. If you are more advanced, you can do things intuitively, and some people still have good results with this. But if you're more of an intermediate or a beginner, or you don't have as good of a grasp of your body intuitively, it would be beneficial to have a little bit more structure. So eating too many calories, not eating enough vegetables, not increasing your intensity or workout volume with your increased caloric surplus, not doing cardio, and not setting goals or tracking your progress are 5 big mistakes that people often make and that I've made all the time and still make in a bulking phase. Let me know if any of these tips were helpful, if you have any other tips for anyone else who's bulking down below in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And good luck with your bulk. So today let's play Who's That YouTuber? What's good to the best family on YouTube? Okay, that was one. So that was one. Number 2. These guys actually have beef right now, so it's funny. I hope you guys are having a good day, because if I'm having a good day, then you should be having a good day. Okay, that was 2. Okay, number 3. One medical YouTuber does this, and then there's some other people that do this as well. What's good, party people? Okay, so if you guys know who those are, comment those down below.